Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 518th episode of the GeekVerse podcast, a GeekVerse review. I am no equal Trash Snail, and I'm joined by...
The dull blade, Kirklin Patzer.
I am the podcaster by night, Dylan Muss.
I'm the Bigfoot, Taylor Field.
Do we got a review tonight? Because Kirkland liked that
You were
one.
sitting
Little
on that
Werewolf by
all
London.
day, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I love because every like Halloween Spotify playlist has Werewolf in London, and I just like it's my jam. It's a song I can't skip,
a good
and just
song.
like I'm in a werewolf mood. I think this week I meant to watch a bunch of other werewolf stuff. The reason I'm in a werewolf mood is because, ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between, we are talking about Werewolf by Night, the Halloween MCU special, the first special presentation that the MCU has done. We're going to break that down. We got tons of stuff, tons of reviews, multiple newscasts, side quests. We got multiple side quests coming up in the future. You got a God of War retrospective. Me and Taylor are going to be Gotham Knights. It's Call of Duty. There's just like movies, TV shows, video games. We're just flowing. The GV juice is flowing. You know that moment in The Shining when the elevator opens just like blood? It's that, but content. Taylor, where can they find that content?
You can find that when you open your elevator doors into the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse is our Twitter. GeekVerse is our Facebook.
You're too fast. I can't even get the link out and everything like that, but you know what?
It's like Scott. I got to go faster.
Yeah, fuck Scott. But anyway, speaking of Scott, you may or may not see him when we do a trivia battle in a few weeks because November 5th is our sixth
Seventh.
annual.
Isn't it the 7th?
No, we're always a year behind
That's
because we didn't do it our
November
first
7th.
year. Yeah. Well, no, what happened with this? Kirkland said he'd fix the link? That's not November 7th, November 5th.
Oh, he's been
What's
promoting
going
November
on?
7th this whole time.
Oh, my
Do not come by on November
God.
7th. We will all be at our day jobs on Monday.
November
Okay. November
5th.
5th.
It is our 6th annual 24-hour extra live stream for BC Children's Hospital. We're trying to raise $3,500. We would appreciate anybody. We know from listeners, if you would just give $1, we could hit our goal. There we go. It's looking better. And if you can't donate, that's completely fine. Just share it on the day. Come join us. We're going to have lots of fun. Over 7 events. We're announcing a bunch of stuff this weekend, or this week. Soon we'll be starting to announce some of the contenders and whatnot. Dylan, it's going to be, I guess I haven't even thought about this, but Dylan, because you're there, it's going to be your first trivia battle. I don't know, we can't announce team stuff like that, but are you ready to do some Marvel, DC, and Star Wars trivia?
I'm ready for one and a half of those categories, I would say.
The DC
But-
one, you're ready for fully, right?
No, that's the 0. I think I'll give myself a half for Star Wars. Like I've given Star Wars a fair shake. I just anyway.
But that's coming up. Tons of stuff. It's all tax deductible, going towards a good cause for the BC Children's Hospital. So look out for that. Everything else down below: video, audio, our Discord, our podcast network with 8 shows, and where to find us. Most importantly, our Patreon, where you can head over there, get this episode of mini ad free. After this, we're recording a special exclusive Lord of the Rings cast, making a Lord of the Rings cinematic universe, planning out what that could be. There's tons of other stuff. After Nine's coming up. We're going to be watching the 2005 Venom. We're doing an After 9 movie night. It's the first ever. People told me in the survey that they want some commentary tracks back, so we're doing a hybrid, picking a Halloween movie. Gonna be tons of fun. And a big shout out to our Patreon producers, April of Darkness, Aaron Braden, Smalley Biggs, and Joshua White, because you guys are, picking the content for us. You're literally producing, choosing what we're reviewing. We very appreciate it. And then head down below and join Manscaped, a sponsor for us that we've had over a year. We're happy to work with them to the end of the year. Get a podcast or use our podcast code, get 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Taylor Field, I'm going to start with you because I just feel like you've been juicing all day to talk about this. I see you popping off in our GV Discord with the fellow listeners and hosts. I see you popping off on Twitter and stuff like that. Well, when Taylor tweets multiple times a day, something's going on. So, Taylor, what did you think of Werewolf by Night?
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Yeah, this just... The trailer was one thing, and I feel like it was so great because everything I thought was like expectation-wise was going to unfold from the trailer. It totally was different. Like, I thought that was just fantastic how things I was assuming and piecing together was like, nope, we're going this all of a sudden a right turn here, and it was fantastic. It just, the moment it started, this isn't even a spoiler, just the way, like the classic Marvel Studios like intro at the beginning there, it caught my attention. Like my head just turned, like all of a sudden, like jerk motion, like holy shit, like this is totally different, and I loved every single second of that. The characters, the story, it just felt so vibrant and new and nostalgic because there's so much going on that's just like appeasing the classical horror gods out there, and I loved every bit of it. I wrote a review on my Letterboxd
Oh, look at that quick plug. That quick. Hasn't used your letterbox at all. Now, oh, my letterbox. You know,
Yeah,
if you want to get that, join the
love
Discord.
letterbox. So this is my non-spoilers review. We'll most certainly be rewatching this. From the moment it plays, you can feel something new and different that's passionately shown while adhering to the MCU canon. If you're a fan of classical horror effects and cinematography with a dash of subtle Marvel humor, I reckon you'll find yourself enjoying this as much as I did.
You don't even talk like that on the podcast.
I've never heard you do a review like that. Yeah, that's what's so weird.
Did Madison write that
too
for you and stuff
structured.
like that?
Yeah, that was Madison.
Now, Taylor, to go the full ham, just so you know, in the future, when we do this review, you should post a link to the review for your full thoughts below. Like, because someone, if they like your review on Letterboxd,
I'll put on the letterbox because I did that before we did this review.
I'm starting to do that now. Go to Discord to get my Letterboxd. I'm starting to actually review and use a bit more stuff now. So it sounds like me and Taylor are going to be a bit active there. Taylor sounds like he's like Werewolf by Night. Dylan, are you much of the same?
I am much of the same. I thought this was a lot of fun. I just want to see more of weird little specials like this where like there obviously is a story going on, but in a way this feels almost like a slice of life little horror moment thing where we just kind of get a range of fun characters and just like a short, like succinct story that's quite enjoyable. And yeah, I thought there was like, some of the characters really stood out to me. I like the action stuff was really good. Some of the cinematography and action I thought was really well done. So I'm excited to break down some of those things. But yeah, I'm really curious where this will lodge into the rest of the MCU in terms of the future. And there's maybe a couple of references in here and obviously some characters, but overall, like I just want to see more of this kind of thing. I think this is a really fun drop, and hope to see more.
Mr.
I don't have
Patzer.
a letterbox review for you, so
my letterbox account is probably just like thick layer of dust on it. I don't even remember what the
That's
login
the name
is.
of it? Thick layer
Is
of
it
dust?
deleted?
Before I just got because we will talk about this in spoilers when we talk about more. But great question, my viewer Drew. Question for everyone: where does Jack Russell rank other Phase 4 MCU characters like Shang-Chi, Elena, Moon Knight? I think that's a great one. We might talk about. We're gonna do a phase like the new MCU rankings and stuff like that. That might. I think we do rank characters, but still, I haven't even thought about the perspective. Like, yeah, I guess we got a new protagonist. So good question.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a bit in the spoilers, I think. But just wanted to shout that out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I think I was expecting to like this more than I did. And I'm very intrigued on how I'm gonna feel on like a rewatch when I am in like more of this type of movie vibe. I feel like I don't know, like I should have known what I was getting myself into, especially with just like how the trailer was, like big, just I don't know, like nod to like those classic werewolf type movies, monster flicks, I guess you could call them. And at the same time, I don't know, I was just going in and I was expecting something a little bit different from what I got. I think there is a lot of great stuff in here, but I was expecting it to be handled differently, and I think I want to like separate like my review for like what these specials are, because I think this is such a great idea. I want to see more just crazy different stuff, just than typical MCU things that we've just been like, MCU is very spread and they cover a lot of different things, but I feel like it definitely has a certain formula of like pushing the MCU phases forward. But this is when they do something like this, a special, they're not really contained or like just have those limiters on. I don't know if I'm explaining that the best, but I think you're picking up what I'm throwing down a little bit.
You hate the show.
Yeah,
Oh,
I hate the show.
Yeah.
But like the whole monster thing, I think I was expecting to like it more than I did, and I'm watching it and I'm like, okay, I don't think I've ever been in a stage in my life that I've like really liked these types of movies. So I don't know, maybe it's just not exactly for me. I think I liked like the performances overall. I don't know. I don't want to say too much because I am excited to talk about our Werewolf by Night and some other characters in there. So I'll pass it there. For me, not a very well written letterbox like Taylor had, but I was expecting it to be a little bit more sizzly for me. I don't know. I think I'm in the wrong here, though. Sounds like I'm already in the minority.
There's no wrong sides except for this one. But, I actually am pretty in line with Kirklin Patzer. We got this trailer, and I was so hyped about it, and I was like, man, this is such a special thing. And I wonder what I would have felt the first time watching this without seeing that trailer, because I think that took some of that shock away of like, man, we're getting this, it's black and white, it's this and everything. So I was pretty in line with Kirklin. until I watched it a second time. I'm not trying to be that guy. Like, well, here's my story. I watched it last night. It was a bit later. I was expecting Taylor to edit the Lord of the Rings review, which he did not. So I was maybe not in the best mood either because I edited 3 podcasts, but that's fine. So I did that. I watched it at 1 a.m. because I had to. I not had to, but I just wanted to. I wanted to see it. I was very anticipated. I said this was probably my most anticipated project. So I watched it at 1 a.m. I woke up. I watched it again at 6 a.m. And then now I just watched it again with the family and whatnot because it was a little dicey at times, but it was pretty safe enough for me. Okay, I feel like my kids have seen. My kids they're like their dad. They like a lot of the creepy stuff. It doesn't really faze them. So. Now where I have like before, I think it's jumped up in my letterbox, my MC ranks. I'm not going to say where because we're going to talk about that when we do our ranking special. But I think from last night at 1 a.m. to now, it's jumped up like 8 or 9 spots of just. I think the first one I had such high expectations. I watched like okay, that this was good. I thought it was maybe a bit basic. Kind of didn't surprise me in too many routes, but I really loved the things they were doing with it. I loved kind of like Kirklin saying the freedom of it. But more and more, I will say the thing that I did take away from. The vibe is what I was really digging. Not so much just the horror stuff, because I'm a big horror guy, but it reminded me of the first time I watched Guardians of the Galaxy, which, funny, Kirklin, you didn't really like Guardians of the Galaxy the first time you saw it either. To me, it was like, this feels... there was humor in the MCU, but when Guardians came out, that felt like something not completely different, but it felt like, okay, this is a new path for the MCU. This is a new, different like type of chapter, tone, and stuff like that. Taking things to the nth degree, getting crazy. This was that, but on the different spectrum where that classic, like how everyone, including myself, sometimes rag on MCU, like they need a joke here, they need their quips, they need to be very funny. That's not this special. There's humor, but it's not that stop and drop a one-liner and get back to the action. It's very situational, very naive, very kind of playful humor. And this chapter opened up more than me, because I guess I'm trying to think. We got Blade, and I guess Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange to me felt like a hybrid, and then Blade we haven't seen. Moon Knight to me, what I wanted Moon Knight to be is what this was. I thought it was going to be, this is going to be our kick in the big supernatural, and it kind of was, but this, I think, nailed the tone down so much of, I don't even need, there's lots of blood and guts in this. Not guts, I won't say, but there's lots of blood. There's lots of like stuff where I'm like, man, this feels close to radar, and this is crazy seeing MCU some of this violence. Where there's one shot in particular where it's a minor spoiler. Some character gets a sword in the head, right? But what happens is this character throws a sword in the head, and they don't show it. I'm like, oh yeah, of course they're not going to show us the MCU. And then they just cut to the sword like completely in the person's head, and they're like trying to grab. I'm like, oh my god! And they take it on, just blood everywhere, and the camera's going to fill blood. So this to me was such a tonal shift, and I absolutely love that. And I just fell in love with Jack Russell and Elsa Bloodstone, especially because Kirklin, you remember the last time we saw Jack Russell, that actor?
He seemed familiar to me. I didn't look him up though.
He's the main guy in Old. He's the dad from Old on the beach with the kids and everything.
Oh my god!
Yes, that's him.
It's so funny because you just said Old there. I'm like, what movie is that? I completely just blocked it from my
That's
memory.
why I was trying to explain it to you. But
Yeah.
So when he was cast, I was like, ugh, I didn't really like him in that movie. But I loved him being this very kooky character, and I loved Elsa Bloodstone. She's somebody that I don't know what they're gonna do. I agree with Dylan that I'd like more specials. But if next week they're just to announce an anthology show of just Jack and Elsa just hunting monsters, that's all I need. No like 8th storyline, just every week a monster week. I end up absolutely. I liked it a lot last night, but the more I've watched and sat with it, I absolutely loved it. And it was yes, Arn, the M Night movie Old with the beach and stuff. He's the dad. He's like, I guess, the main character. But I absolutely loved it. It's ranked high for me in the MCU, and I want more of this, especially with the humor taking itself seriously. This to me shows that something in the MCU can be like this and work, and we don't have to completely follow the formula. It is a winning formula, and it's good for some things, but I think this shows that there is other ways, there is other ventures to go through. Yeah. So
I am intrigued to hear that you had like a not a big 180 on like your initial viewing, but definitely increased a lot. Because like I watched it right when I got home. Very busy, hectic day today for me, like at school and stuff. So I knew while I was watching it, I'm like, I feel like I'm not giving it my best. I'm not like the best positive mood, I guess, to be watching this, and just to have in like that horror vibe. I feel like this will definitely be something really fun to rewatch around Halloween for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. It's just we'll see until that time happens.
Well, we're going to take our first ad break, and then we're going to spoil. So if you've not seen it, tune out and come back later. It'll be Wade, and so we'll be right back. And we're back. So where do we want to start with this? Do we want to start with Jack? Do we want to start our protagonist, Jack Russell, the werewolf and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
to stand still.
So you
I
passing?
really,
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I didn't know because I just talked. Taylor, what do you think of our protagonist here? Obviously, from the trailers, we got the setup that he's joining this big monster hunt. It is to get the Bloodstone. Lots of fun imagery when we first walk in and stuff like that. But Jack is our protagonist. We got a second hander as well, but he's the one taking us pretty much through this journey. What are your first? Because I feel like you've not. I don't think we've come across him in anything animated or anything we've watched, Werewolf by Night. I don't think he's been anywhere in our Marvel coverage that we've talked about. Even when we did comic book versions, I don't think he's popped up yet.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. It wasn't so revealing where I thought like, oh, this is definitely going to be like the werewolf or anything like that. But it was enough for like, okay, like there's something interesting going on here. And I like how they just kind of campy classically revealed that he was egg, because like you can kind of like pick up on it, and I love that interesting dynamic, which we'll talk more about with Ted and him. But when we got to the point where he like touches the bloodstone and he just like fucking seizures out on the floor, I was like, holy shit, this guy's just got to be a monster. And sure enough, yeah, I love that's what I alluded to.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Are you saying this is like a fun you didn't know, or did you forget Jack Russell was the werewolf?
Well, to be honest, like even
I had no idea, to be honest.
I
That wasn't
really?
revealed for me.
I didn't
Oh,
like even
really?
like in
Okay.
retrospect, looking at the posters now and then alluding to that, I didn't. I
Like
just
the
thought that
Disney
was
Plus
this
one?
like. Yeah, I just thought it was like a mystery,
Alright.
like kind of component, but I didn't know until like halfway through watching this, and then for sure when he touched the bloodstone. So the marketing obviously didn't work with me in that regard, because I initially thought going in that all the characters were all coming together. I didn't know their affiliation with who or why they were here really, but they were gathered, and I thought one of them was going to turn into the werewolf, and that's what it was. I thought it was going to be kind of like a murder mystery, classical horror kind of thing, but I love that in this case. Okay, yeah, one of them is the werewolf, but it's not. It was just done differently from how I was kind of like picturing it in my mind, so I really appreciate that. But it still had that campiness of how it unfolded, and I really like that as well. So yeah, I think he did a fantastic job, and I really just shied with him when you got to see that the human side of him being a monster with Ted, and him talking to Elsa and having that real heart to heart where he's saying like, this is me, whatever like minor part of me that isn't me is that thing, but like this is who I am. And I really like that. He was selling it so hard. And in retrospect now, when he's talking about how like, yeah, I fought that one once, looking at the bat thing on the wall, like it just really it hits. I like it. I like it.
For me, I had no idea that he was gonna be the werewolf until I paused the movie, and it's just like his image with the shadow of the werewolf. I'm like, well, fuck. Okay, well now I know. And that was like pretty early on that I just
How dare
paused,
you
grab a
pause
water.
the movie?
I know, it's my own fault. I'm to blame here, but yeah, I don't know. I think the opening with just all these characters and they're here for a purpose. Then you have this one guy that's just acting like very sus. Again, this is still at the point when I didn't know who he was. I think it was a good mystery around him for sure, and his dynamic with Ted, that was a really fun moment when like just grabs around him, and then it's just like a friendly like hug, basically like a big embrace, and I instantly just like smiled. It was a really good, just like charming moment of like, stay low, like we'll get you out of here. And right away it's like, okay, this is a fun dynamic because we have this like battle royale essentially going on with all these hunters, and then like, okay, we have our prey that they're all hunting other than just killing each other, but then you have this other player who's kind of an inside man to get this guy out, and I really like that dynamic going forward. And I think again, like on another watch, I think, or let me rephrase, maybe on another rewatch I'll appreciate more of the dynamic between him and Elsa, because for me it was just, okay, this is our protagonist essentially, and then he's the monster, and then they're just gonna like pair him up with like the female locked in the cage with him, and it was just, I don't know, like again, like I for me it didn't spark too much interest on those two. I think I do really like the character of Elsa. I was expecting her to look a little bit different, but I definitely grew to just like her like personality the more that she was on screen, so that was good as well. But yeah, for our werewolf, I think I liked him the most when he was either with Ted or just full werewolf and just popping off. That was a really fun scene for sure.
So not when he's Jack. You don't like when he's Jack.
Yeah, no, and then like again, like I was just, I don't know, like maybe I was just salty that I paused. I'm like, well, I know that he's the werewolf. Like, okay, here we are. And then I didn't really, again, like I said, love the dynamic between him and Elsa. So we'll see how it goes on another watch.
That I feel similarly in like another watch. I would be curious to just like analyze all his movements differently now that I know who he is. But I agree with you. Like the first half of the special, which is like 20, 25 minutes, whatever it is, he's not really doing anything or saying anything particularly interesting. He's a pretty bland character. That's why I guess I wasn't like, oh, that guy is definitely the werewolf character. I hadn't really thought about how that would be part of it. When they're setting up that there's going to be a beast out in this maze, I kind of just assumed that would be Werewolf
Yeah.
by Night or something like that, and they would set up that like he's the villain of the whole thing, and that's who these hunters are going against. So that was a fun twist, I would say. But yeah, I really liked the switch up, that subversion of expectations there, that he's buddies with Man-Thing / Ted over there. And I swear, like in the trailer, didn't he actually pull him into the tree
Nope.
there?
He just
No?
does that where he pulls him against it, but that's it. That's all.
They
it
just
is.
cut it
Yeah.
there? Okay.
Yeah, because I was always like, I'm surprised they used that shot of him being pulled, and now it's like, well, that's why, because it was completely something else of just, hey, friend,
Yeah, no, that was a good thing. And I mean, it was interesting to see that like we're joining this character, we're meeting him like, I don't know, decades or maybe even hundreds of years or something. I don't know if it would be that long into him like being a werewolf and doing this thing where he can tell her like instructions on how to get through to him, and it's still not 100%, but he's like, yeah, look into my eyes. He's like doing this freaky thing, smelling her to try and get that scent lodged in his brain and all that stuff. So I really like that dynamic between the two of them. But yeah, once again, watching that first half again, knowing who he is, I'm curious how I'll feel about that the second time, because when whoever it was asked that question of like, where would I rank this character, like I don't think I would rank him very highly compared to like some of our other leads, and that's just probably because of a screen time thing, of course. But yeah, I like what we have so far. I'd like to see more of him. I don't know where that would be, but I'd be down for it.
Oh man, I just at the end, like I'm not trying to jump in, when it's just him and Man-Thing and they're on the log and they're having the tea. It's like I just want to see them and Strange.
Yeah.
Like I want all these
A
fucking
buddy
weird
cop
characters
show with
together.
those
Yeah,
two.
oh yeah, like, I just want this. I just want so much. Like let's just get in the supernatural horror side of the MCU. Like let's do it. But yeah, I'm still on the reverse where I probably might rank him very high because I think it's all, which is funny because Michael Giacchino, who deserves tons of credit, that's his first thing he's ever directed, like as kind of like almost so close as a feature. He's done some shorts and stuff like that, but this is his biggest project yet. I know everyone's like, oh, he's gonna direct a movie next. I don't know if he's gonna jump that because he's still a composer, but I would not be opposed if he gets announced for something in the MCU down the line, or even if it's like a showrunner of a series or something like that, or directing some episodes there. But I do want more because this is great for sure. It's great that he's been around. Like this guy's worked with dozens of fantastic, some of the best directors in the world, right? But it's still easier said than done to be like, well, I've seen people do it, now I'm going to do it. And of course, MCU's a machine and everything, you're working with it, but you still got to deliver at some point. And this, especially being a different type of project, I feel like you feel it even more so. So I do hope we do see him do more stuff, and he knocked it out of the park. So, he's had a good year. He did the Batman, he did this, and he's composed a bunch of other stuff. So good on Giacchino. But with Jack, I just like because he just felt like such an oddball the entire time. He did not feel like, I love at the beginning when they set him up and like I know this, but they just set him up like, oh, 24 kills, 50 kills, and they look at him like 100+ kills, and you're like, this guy who's kind of like bumbling around and looks out of place. Like, how did he? And obviously, like I know it's Werewolf, but it's like, how did he get 100 kills and everything? I actually loved all the interaction with him and Elsa. That's why I'd want a show of those two just doing stuff, because I love that she is the stern badass, but not like emotional cutoff badass where it's just like, I'm gonna repeat cool lines and that's it. She has a personality, and she, like, once she kind of sniffs out, no pun intended, that Jack seems like a do-gooder and is trustworthy, she's like, her guard's up a little bit, but it's like there's a bond that starts to form there, and they talk about certain things. But I think it was like what Taylor said, his best scene is when at the end with him and Elsa in the cage, but it's before he turns and just him talking about his experiences. And like, yeah, he said when he's sniffing her and he's like, "Has this ever worked?" And he said one time, or he said only once, but the way the actor delivered it, it felt like with such pain, as far as it seems like he's tried this many times and it's probably not worked. And I felt he just brought a lot to it. So it felt like, this is where they knocked it out of the park. It felt like a Frankenstein. It felt like a Dracula, like it felt like a tragic horror movie monster. And that's where I love that he'd have these moments of sadness, but then he was kind of trying to be upbeat and happy and a do-gooder. He just was fucking weird, and that's what I liked. And I don't know where he is, but like I may rank him like past Shang-Chi right now. And Moon Knight's it's difficult for me because I have baggage, but like even then, like I loved Jack Russell in this, and Elsa, same thing too, is up there, and I guess I can transition to her. That, like I said some things about her character here, but it's I just walked away because I've never seen this actress in anything. I looked at IMDb after. I was like, have I seen anything? And no one. I just really want to follow her journey now, especially where we end. But I love the stuff with Jack. I love the stuff with the other hunters. I love the stuff with this stepmother, this very estranged sort of abandoned her father because he was probably a shady guy if we look what's going on. But it's not a character that has like tons of stuff where it's like, oh, a very big deep dive. But it's like for the 50 minutes, I just fell in love with this character. And we like her from like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Like we like the character, but I'm not like a huge like, oh man, I love Elsa and she's one of my favorite. No, it just made me want to follow her adventures, and it felt like she did kind of still have this sort of code about her and things like that. She's a hunter, but she doesn't want to be a monster per se. And yeah, and that's one thing I want to ask you, Dylan, though, because you said hundreds of years. We talked about this in the lead up to it, that with the ending and she gets the stone and it turns the color. I think now the whole time, at least we and I think many other people like function that this was in the past. I think this whole thing was completely in present day, and that's why we were like, oh, there was no TVA, and there were like time travel, TVA, what's gonna happen? So I don't know if he has been alive for 100 years, because he could just be a regular dude alive in 2000. There are 5 years ahead, 2027. So I thought that was an interesting reveal that no, they're not in the past, which I like, because I wouldn't want to have been like how we lost that actress in Captain Marvel, where she got old and died, and we had to bring in her daughter. Like, I'm happy we'll get this Elsa, hopefully with some cool characters. So I absolutely loved her as well. These characters both rank pretty high for me as far as new ones we met, you know. So
yeah, I guess one of my like connections of theories was that Blade, since we got that rumor that takes place in the past, that would be a good place for them to pair up, considering they are in similar boats, and you know, maybe the Bloodstone gives her eternal life or something. Like, even if that's not a comic book thing, whatever, they can make that happen. Or she could time travel to the future, whatever it is. No, to me, she was the standout character for sure, and I think it is just little moments, the way she'd react to things when like the essentially like the funeral service is going on, and she's just like dragging that chair across the room, making sassy remarks. Just the way she even slouched back in her chair, just does not give a fuck what's going on, even though that's her father. Like that's all great stuff, and so I just had so much fun with her, and yeah, I really, really want her to be brought forward into something else, because I just want to see more of that character going on crazy adventures and stuff like that, and who knows what that Bloodstone is capable of and whatnot. It seems like it's kind of like a multi-tool. I can kind of do whatever they needed to do in a scene. So I'd be curious to see how they would bring that forward. But I mean, I think for me, maybe the single best shot of this whole thing was kind of shown off in the trailer, but the extended cut here, when he is turning into the werewolf, and you don't see him. You instead just have the camera slowly zooming in on her as she's backing into the cage, like trying to pull herself through the bars almost. And then with the light flickering, that's when you see the shadow of him transforming, and just like her facial reactions that whole time, just fucking amazing. Like,
it doesn't feel
that
cheesy
is great
or
stuff.
anything. It feels like, and that could be because it's like, hey, this guy's turning into a werewolf. Pretend to be scared that this guy, like, that could come off really poorly. And like you said, the shot's on her for like a solid minute. There's no cuts. There's no, that's just like, she has to sell that shot, because if she didn't look scared, we're not gonna care. So that's a good call out. She knocked that out of the park. And the other line I liked too, when you're talking about her attitude, was at the end when everything's to shit, there's dead bodies around. The butler asks, like, what could I do for you? And she's like, well, you could start picking this shit up for one. And then like she just carries on, and just it's just like, it's so good. But then there's those moments too in the cage where Jack's trying to explain to her, she's like, you know what, just kill me, make it quick. Like, she just accepts that it's it for her, even though she's this great hunter. It's like, I don't know what this beast is. So very lots of layers going on with the character in a small amount of time, you know.
Very flexible too. I mean, even just like her fighting style.
Oh yeah.
Very much doing the Black Widow thing of wrapping legs around people and spinning around and stuff.
Such a great move.
Yeah, like right before they go into the crypt, I guess you'd call it, and there's all those weird like kind of concrete platforms. The way she's like flipping and sliding in between all of them, it was so much fun.
She's looking like Plastic Man, the one where she gets the crossbow. She like literally her body like whoosh, and she shoots the guy. It felt like she was kind of superhuman, but it was just like, okay, she's just very good at hunting monsters and stuff like that. Which
she's definitely got something in her DNA that makes her a bit.
Yeah,
special.
it could be. Which they did set up, which I kind of liked that too at the beginning with them showing the Avengers and kind of saying like, well, the reason you haven't seen monsters in this world is because these people keep these monsters away. Like that's why that they're not popping up on the aliens or stuff like that. Because now I imagine something bad's gonna happen. You're gonna see a lot more monsters in the MCU. But I like that explanation of these people are, they're like the Illuminati. They're keeping this secret society going of monster hunting and stuff.
I guess
like that.
Abomination's not a monster then, right? Like
No.
now I'm thinking about MCU characters. Like I feel like some of these would qualify, but
I guess that's like there's probably a difference between like a superpower being a mutant and a monster, and there's all like just varied. I think like a monster probably has to be some, but then we also got witches now with Wanda and Agatha and stuff coming up, so maybe they'll explain that difference soon.
Yeah.
We got everything. I felt like just not needing an explanation to have monsters in it for like we have the, what are they called, the Centauri, like Thanos's like army, like those are monsters
Order?
essentially.
Oh.
No, the
Chitauri,
creatures.
Chitauri.
Yeah, the Chitauri.
They're
thank you.
aliens, Kirklin.
Okay,
They're
yeah, sure.
aliens.
I'm just so used to freaky looking things in the MCU now that okay, yeah, it is great that we get that explanation, but I'm ready to get monsters in the MCU. Come on, just have whatever character fighting zombies. I mean, I guess we have Marvel Zombies coming. That's in another multiverse somewhere.
yeah.
But yeah, just the monster realm with superhero comic book stuff. It's so fun, and I'm loving it. Taylor, while I was watching it, and again, once I got past the point of accepting that Elsa didn't have like, what even is her color in like the other version, Ultimate Alliance 3? It's like
She's a
redhead
ginger.
essentially. Yeah, so
It's one of
was
those
expecting
things that people think they just call, like, it's like people are mad that they in the MCU they take away all like the ginger's hair, like Mary Jane. There's like a list of gingers that they just like they take the hair away. And
oh gosh,
Who do we have as a ginger? I guess we have Pepper Potts. She has red hair. I don't know if that's naturally red hair. But
and I think I don't know if I can't remember what her hair looks like in the comics, but it's like all these natural redheads where it's just like the taking away. And like I agree, let's get some gingers in there. I got some ginger ladies running around this house, so
yeah, absolutely. So when I got past that point, I'm able to just accept the character for who she is, and then
she had the jacket once we got
starting to
color,
really
the red
like her.
jacket.
Yeah, that's right. Once we got color back,
Yeah.
and so like she's just kicking ass. I'm like the character more, and I'm like, oh, why am I liking this character so much? Like she reminds me of someone. Van Helsing, Kate Beckinsale, Taylor. Come on now, it's so similar, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say like I couldn't agree more. I was getting that Kate Beckinsale, even a little dash of Mila Jovovich vibes in there too.
Yeah, but
I
she's
don't know
better
why,
than both
but,
those girls.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
Nah, easy.
I would
One
love this
performance is
conversation
already,
for another night.
already great at
Oh
that.
man, that
Have you
is.
seen
that is
Kate
definitely a
Beckinsale in
conversation
Click?
for
Come
another
on
night.
now.
oh god, I didn't know she was in that. I've seen that movie. That's so much I've just rubbed it out of my brain.
Should I run with on the monsters, or do you want to? You have more to say there, Kirklin?
No, I was passing it.
Passing? Okay. I guess I haven't spoken about Elsa yet. She was just fantastic in this. My only knowledge of this character is through Ultimate Alliance 3, so I really didn't
There you
have
go.
much to really go off of. I'm
Shout out to
definitely
that
not
game, just providing us culture so we can all know these
Absolutely.
characters. Yeah.
I'm definitely not. I don't think I'm that kind of guy. It's like, oh, immediately on the bag when like I've been a big Elsa fan all along. Like finally, like I'm just gonna say like what we
Tweet
saw
that out
is her,
tomorrow.
yeah. What we saw as her introduction in this was absolutely fantastic, and I hope that we get a plethora of more content with her and the monsters and everything. 'Cause
Elsa
it was
show,
just
let's do
incredible.
it.
Yeah, do it, Feige. So do it, Michael. So yeah,
Well, I don't think he gets to make that.
He gets the green light. Anything you want.
Yeah. Foggy retires. It's up to you now, Michael. Everyone really liked Werewolf by the night.
Yeah, it's just her engagement with the other characters, and like you mentioned, Dylan, her just persona of her just dragging that chair again. That was something that really cracked me up just so much. And her dilemma with her stepmother. There's so much going on with this character that I really liked, and I liked how she kind of like swayed over and into befriending a monster in the end. That was just one of my favorite things about this. I'd love to look more into the backstory as to why she just chose to just really kind of like screw off from her father. If her father's supposed to be this ultimate like vampire like hero guy who had like that gem, his barbarian form, not barbarian. When I was reading like a brief like comic book version of him, it looked like he was like a caveman at one point, and then this alien thing crashed with this crystal, and that's what like extended his life as it was in his chest.
But I feel like, look at her stepmother. Like, why did she leave? I don't know if this was a healthy living situation. I don't know. Like,
Not
and
at all.
I can't. I have to look up her name before that end. Shout out her because she's a great character actress. The very first time I ever saw her was in Desperate Housewives. But everything she always plays like kind of like a weirder type person. She always delivers, and she makes you like want to hate her. And she was that as Martha Hooper, I think, in Desperate Housewives. But yeah, I don't think she probably had a good relationship with her stepmom, which probably led to some bad situations with her dad and stuff. And plus, growing up like in a Monster Hunter family, I'm sure there's some bad times because maybe Elsa didn't want to do these sort of things. Maybe she just want to be a normal kid, and they're like, you got to learn how to shoot a bow and take out these vampire fangs. And
Let me ask you this: do you think we see the other sibling, her sibling? Because I saw that there was a brother.
If we get more, it depends what they do with this character. Like I said, if it's the dream to me of like a Jack and her show, even I think her show is realistic, then sure. But if she's like a supporting character that just kind of pops up and stuff, probably not.
Okay. One more. I want to just throw this in on the whole monster thing because it's just freaking cool. You know where I'm going with this. I'm curious if you guys caught this. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is canonized as right here?
That's Sam Squanch.
Look
That's your
at
man
that
right
fucker right there in
He's
his
huge.
glory. And he's dead, but
Yeah, that's why I haven't seen him around.
Why does he look like that general from Avatar a little bit? Portray your own
Stephen
race.
Lang?
Yeah.
you think he looks? Yeah, he was casted as Bigfoot. This is his role in the MCU.
He's got really good teeth for
Yes.
Sasquatch.
very, very good too.
Good
Great
hair
dentist for
too,
the
like
monsters.
eyebrows, facial hair,
Yeah, he's
and you
looking
can
good.
tell
That's a
it's like
well-preserved
groomed.
head right
Yeah,
there.
like it's not like he's never shaved before. Like
Yeah.
clearly he's.
Espo says when he saw us, he thought of Taylor. I guarantee you, every GeekVerse listener, when they see that image, they thought of Taylor.
I hope
Check
so.
out
I
Cryptic
want you
Clues.
to picture me when you see this screenshot here.
He
yeah,
kind of looks like you there, actually.
Oh, well, I'm flattered. I saw this and I immediately was like, Ruben, have you seen the new Werewolf by Night? He's like, no, I haven't. He's like, okay, when you watch it, let me know. He's like, why is so-and-so in it? And I'm just like, no, I don't know. But watch it. So.
Who did you say was so and so?
Yeah.
Or did
He
he
asked,
say Sasquatch?
he's like, is Dogman in it? And I sent the
Oh.
emojis with no mouth on them. So,
So you made him tune in for 5 seconds of Bigfoot, and that was it?
well, I hope he watches the whole thing.
Let's take our second ad break here, and then we'll let Taylor keep talking about some monsters. So we'll be right back. And we're back. I was got 30, but was it just the Bigfoot you were bringing up, or was there more specific stuff about the monsters?
Just a
you wanna talk
Bigfoot.
about?
Okay.
Okay.
If you guys want to tackle any monsters, but I will say, like, were there any other monsters that are like prominent? Because I know Bigfoot is in the comics, as I could see, but those other monsters I didn't really recognize.
No, well, at least not that I picked up. I'm sure I guarantee you all of them are from something that are either real life pulp culture or from Marvel Comics, and I'm excited for a YouTube video to break that down. So I don't have anything to add on that. All I have to add is, even if something like the maze or something was CGI, this whole fucking set was super cool. One of my favorite set
Yeah.
pieces in Marvel MCU history, of like this room with the heads, just the way the roof was, and then it's like a shining like maze. Like I loved it. Like, and I'm glad this is her like base, like her home. So if we ever get a show or movie or a fall with these characters, hopefully we'll return back to here. Even if it's just like her bat cave, perfect, So yeah, I
I feel like she
loved
would
it.
take down all the heads and like redecorate though, but
with her
Add more.
the stepmom.
Put more up.
yeah. No, well, didn't she like evaporate completely?
Right.
She
But her
just-
her dad's head started rolling, so we
True,
got that.
yeah.
So that would be
Throw it up.
great. Yeah.
That's pretty metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the scene earlier when she was just being, what do you call her, Plastic Man, whatever the hell that. I've
Yeah,
never heard of
Plastic
that
Man.
before.
It's
Yeah,
a
she's
DC
very-
Plastic Man.
hero. Yeah.
Okay.
Rubbery and
Or
bouncy,
Mr.
whatever.
Fantastic for Marvel.
Mr.
I should
Fantastic,
say.
yeah, absolutely.
She was
She's
Mr.
very
Fantastic.
flipping around and stuff, and I was just like, man, like it just seems like a parkour like like room or something. Like all these areas that they're playing around with,
Good
where there's
training
different
ground
levels.
for her as a kid. Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And even when she like just shot that one contestant, I guess I could call him Hunter, probably a better name,
Yeah.
like right through the throat, and she's just like covering his mouth while I completely forget the other guy's
Axeman.
name. Axeman, yeah, thank you. He's coming in and she's just like hiding in that lower stage of it. I'm like, man, like this is such a, I feel like this is again just like a Dishonored type level or like an Arcane level where I could just use all these areas to like hide and like stealth around, and even when they're in the like the crypt room or whatever, like it's such a different type of, what even is that word for, like a tomb, I guess, like that I'm
Right.
used to seeing of like the great, like they just looked more modern because of the black and white. Like it just looked like everything was LED'd or something, and I really really liked it. It looked really really cool and something that I've never seen before, and different than I would have expected to have like or not necessarily vampire hunters, but just like monster hunters. And I feel like they always have that like Elizabethan, like Victorian, like era type aesthetic to it. So yeah, I really really liked it, and like Travis said, I hope we get more of it going forward, because there's no reason not to if this is actually her base. It's not like she's dead or anything. I think the Bloodstone family is gonna be popping off, and more so like their reputation going forward in the MCU. Yeah,
Shooting out a bunch of kids with Jack.
this is the threat of Secret Wars essentially.
The Bloodstone is actually the Power Stone. That's what that red stone is.
It's
the
Oh
whole
gosh,
time. Yeah.
it just keeps coming back in cycles. Every phase comes back to the stones.
Her brother's Thanos in this world. You know?
Wow. Yikes. That's crazy. No, I too I love the just the setup of the whole game. I love the design of that, the kind of maze part of it, the weirdly paced staircases and just random blocks and stuff like that. Like that just seemed like a lot of fun to romp around in. So I really like that. And yeah, I feel like, you know, of all the MCU things, this is probably the place that has like the least amount of set pieces. Like we pretty much have 2 rooms in this,
Yep.
right? We got like the main chamber, and then we got like outside and you know, a couple different shots of different parts of the maze.
Yeah, the
and
tomb, I guess, like you have where all
Yeah,
the
sure, there you
bloodstones,
go.
but it's not even that big of a set.
And I
It's
guess
just a
I guess
room.
they're like at the end, you know, they're sitting in like the woods or something like that. But I don't know. I think
Yeah.
they got a lot. Like this is shorter, but I feel like they got a lot done with just a few smaller sets. And yeah, I mean, I think the black and white's probably easier for them to hide CGI stuff. So I don't know what
Yes.
they did for the maze. I mean, I'm sure that zoom out shot where they're showing that it's like a couple like football fields long. That's not all accurate, but hopefully they were able to
Foggy's
actually
house.
create some smaller parts of this thing, because it felt pretty well done there. And you know, I'm down if like the specials are things like this, where you know you can have just these smaller few amount of sets and they can actually like make this stuff real, like the Guardians holiday special. Like I'm totally down if that's all just in the ship and it's just like dialogue and a simple story like that, and we can like make some things feel a little more authentic. And once again, I think the black and white makes that easier. But Taylor Field, what's up?
Well, you said it there too. The black and white makes it easier. It balances out the CGI and everything too, like with Man Thing and all that. It just makes it much more bearable than what it could be. But on that note, just quickly before you go, I think that the being small scale allows for much more budget to be directed into like the CGI and everything like that. So if they did that with Guardians, like the holiday special, that would work in their favor.
Well, yeah, and luckily with them too, like they still got CGI Rocket and Groot, so I don't think you'll go to too many locations. But and I know they've been done before, but
I feel like James Gunn has like a bit of a blank check though. That's a
agree,
bit of
yeah.
an exception, I think.
Yeah, but with this one though, I was gonna say that you're right on the CGI, but not that he almost looked better, but Man Thing looked great even when they went back into color. It looked like one of their like
Yeah.
the last few. Like I feel like they're very 50-50 right now, where there's some characters that just look like garbage and there's some that just look so good. And even She-Hulk, I feel like in her own show goes back and forth between looking really good and like, but Man Thing, he looked pristine. And I love that one we got him in color. Like there's like little mushrooms on him and stuff. I wasn't even noticing
Yeah.
the first time. Like. Really cool character. If you like Man Thing, go check out we did a Man Thing retrospective a few weeks ago. Lots
It's our
of fun.
background right now for the visual.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no sex on a boat death scene in this, but maybe we'll get that in part 2 because Foggy, I'm sure, wants to remake but that. But I don't have much to add because you guys nailed about. I love the dynamic shift of he is being hunted by these people, but not Jack, and Jack almost referred to him in like a familia or a familia sort of like. Blood, like he almost like talked to him like he was a brother and stuff like that. When he was talking about family, he referred to Ted. But yeah, I liked that they were kind of taking the Groot approach too, where only Jack knows what he's saying and he's making little jokes to him and stuff. And I'm ready for. I don't care. I'm ready for the Man Thing Teddies. I'm ready for Man Thing to take over like Baby Groot. Like I want to see I want Man Thing to be in Doctor Strange. I want to see him interact with MCU people. Like I just want at some point one of our Earth heroes like Captain America, Sam Wilson, look over and see a fucking werewolf and to see Man Thing and just be like, what the fuck
Hell
has
yeah.
happened since Steve left? You know, like all this stuff. But like, I want to see Man Thing everywhere and everywhere all at once, you know? So I loved everything about Man Thing. I need the cool power of like melting people. Very fun.
We got a lot of just full on shots of him too, right?
Yes.
Like, of course they hide it for the first couple moments, but then you do get a lot of full on shots, and I think he does look really good. And they gave him kind of like an elephant's trunk, so he was like almost like a bit cuter, which is a very weird
Yep.
thing to say. And I was feeling
Like
too. I was
friendly,
like,
you know.
yeah, I was like, man, I miss the eyes though from the early 2000s Man Thing. But then when we go color and it's like, oh yeah, I guess he still has red eyes. It just you wouldn't tell that. But that was the one thing that I was like, I really liked the eyes in that original version. So it's kind of fun that we got that afterwards at least.
I definitely agree. He had that cuter trait to him. Sam just finished watching, really enjoyed it. Visually great. Nice, great to hear. Yeah, like I definitely agree that he was a lot more. I don't know, just he seemed like I wanted to get to know this Ted a lot more than the Man Thing that we saw before. But then there'd be moments where he just popped off, and I'm like, holy shit, he actually is extremely powerful, just completely disintegrating these other hunters and stuff, and like just brutally, just I guess it's a quick death if they just like explode sort of, but still like just again showing how dangerous this character can be. And but by the end, it has that Groot effect, because Groot is like incredibly strong. He could probably just rip you in half if he wanted to, but you never really get that feeling of him. And I like how you shouted out like the details on Ted at the end, like in color when he has all those like spores growing on him. Like actually, he is very Groot-like in that sense, where he just has stuff growing on him. Maybe it's just the tree thing, or just having a living creature that's a lot more menacing. I don't know.
Yeah, he's somebody I feel like can go to 0 to 100 real quick, like with that power. If his power attack just grabs you and explodes you, it's like, man, like obviously I don't know what's gonna be the future Man Thing, but pretty powerful guy, you know. So
Kirklin, check our chat real quick. What else do we got? There's not too much to this guy. He's a pretty one-note character, but I really like the guy with the axe. I just thought he was fun and badass. That axe too, I just love the design of that thing. I love a good axe. I thought that was very cool looking, and obviously it kind of switched hands. That was they mentioned how all the weapons are like there's weapons hidden throughout, and they're going to be scarce. So any time you find a weapon, like obviously she's ripping off the crossbow off of a corpse and all this stuff, because that stuff is rare. So I like that the axe was kind of like a commodity too that was going around between these different hunters. So I don't know if the other characters really did much for me. There was like the Ziggy Stardust looking one.
I liked that one a lot. I
like all their looks, but like none of them really have any personality. The axe guy gets the most, but even that's like pretty one dimensional, which for what we got here, totally fine. I think they got the looks down. That's the most important part.
The look I like just because the pure white just made it pop so much in the black and white thing. So really, really liked that character. But Taylor, anything to add on Man Thing? I know you kind of spoke on him a little bit. Anything else?
Oh,
Ted?
man. I just completely sold. Immediately after watching this, I was just looking for like Man Thing apparel, like t-shirts and stuff. I want to
Just like a ghillie suit. You just like throw it over.
Oh, I just want to rep the brand. I am
Man Thing?
so on board for Man Thing. Just like you said, Travis, just to swoop over and just take over the MCU right now. He's just
Groot is yesterday's news. Fuck that tree.
Yeah,
we want this mossy looking guy. You know.
Absolutely. Like I was definitely like, make sure you definitely check out our Man Thing retrospective that we did. That was shouted out. But like I was positive on that, and that I'm glad, because being positive on that just set the stone for I got really into Man Thing, and I was like Googling a little bit more about it. But now I'm at the point after seeing this, like I'm so bloody well sold on Man Thing. Like it's reaffirmed as at some point when we like update like our main like favorite characters like MCU.
That's happening this
like
December.
Cheap
plug.
Man Thing is going to be
Ted's gonna be in your top 10. How do you guys feel about the name part of it? Does that bother you? Like Travis, particularly from the comic point of view, are you bothered that like technically his name's Ted? Like I don't think they say Man Thing at all, do they?
No, they never do. I don't mind it because it's coming from this perspective. I would be curious that in the MCU, if you were to meet other people, like I could see Shield and Sword describing him as Man Thing. So I'm fine with like Jack, his friend, calling him Ted, because I don't think he would call him, hey, Man Thing. Like so I'm fine for it here. If he becomes Ted in the MCU, I don't know how I feel about that. I think that like obviously you can market that a lot better, just Ted. But I hope we do get the Man Thing drop, and I think we will. Like I could even see Blade saying it's like an insult, like, oh, I've heard about you, Man Thing, and Jack's like, hey, my friend. And Blade's like, I don't give a fuck, and then he just strolls off about his day. So it worked for me here, you know.
I mean, at the end of the day, Man Thing is kind of a stupid name anyway. So
yes,
it's fine if you just switch it to another generic.
Ted's a great name. Ted Boner, like Espo said.
Ted Boner. Oh no, get that out of here.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's no, that's not the same thing, but
No, let's hope
it's,
not. But
makes sense.
well, I guess the other thing on major that I want to show that we kind of skirted about, we talked a little bit, but I really liked the actual transformation. Like after the scene, we got that great scene, and then the actual action scene. It was good. I guess we haven't really even talked about his look. That months ago it had came out that it was going to be practical, and some people compared it to Teen Wolf, and obviously there was a lot of like, oh, like what's going on? And it is strange, like in a world where you got the MCU, thought, oh, they're probably gonna. When everyone heard Werewolf by Night, I think we all assumed, oh, they're gonna CGI that. It's gonna be a CGI mocap type of character, and it wasn't. But you know what? It looked good. I think the black and white helps it. I wonder how it's gonna look in color, but still, I like the small additions they did to his face. I like the fur. I like the design. I loved all his attack. Like he's somebody that was like, he's like, oh, I want him in Marvel Alliance 4. Like the way he was moving stuff like that. I love they did the fucking Hereditary shot when they were like, they're shocking the cage and then they look up and the roof is just broken. And it's great because it's like a full 10-15 seconds of them like panning around this room and you don't see him because I watched it twice and you see him against the wall like nothing. And then later on when you could, no, I just watched that last week. Great movie. And I love it. You see him against the wall a little bit, but then his eyes open and then you see the glimmer and then he jumps. So I love it. It was like that jump scare where it's like the visuals making you jump, not because it's like and fucking go don't watch Smile.
Yeah, it's not a cheap scare.
Exactly. So everything from the movement to the fighting to the presence to even that scene where he jumped on Elsa, was about to kill her and they calmed him down, which is very classic, kind of monsterish and stuff like that. But I loved everything about the choreography that they did with Werewolf by Night.
Sun's getting real low. She hit him with that kind of moment.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I like I said, I love the whole monster sequence with him. And again, it was just, I don't know, I was expecting it to be a lot more of a heavy CGI type character situation, and I appreciated that it wasn't, and it was just like the more practical effects side of it, and the fact that it was black and white, and they were able to like not even really hide like a lot of the attacks that he was doing, just like shoot them in a very creative way that it looked very believable what was going on and just menacing, like the way he was able to just shred through a room of guards like that. I feel like I just love that moment when like they think they have it all under control, it's Cage, and then obviously the cage breaks or something, it gets out and just completely dominates them, you know, like basically like Logan, like when he escapes as Project X, all that stuff. So and
he even said that he's like, if I turn all, you're gonna die. Like, and that's why, like, it's a bold claim because they're also monster hunters. They have weapons, but he literally said like, you're not gonna stop me, and they didn't. You know, so.
It's such a badass line, and I feel like I witnessed that as a young kid, and it just like left an impression. I'm like, I love that type of sequence in an action movie. It's so
I thought you meant like in your real life. I'm like, when in your life did you say someone said, yeah, you gotta let me out of here, you're all gonna die? I'm like, what is Kirklin's origin?
And then the bullies just wedgied me and threw me in my locker.
And then I murdered them all.
Brutal.
Actually, no, I'll pass along. You guys can speak on the werewolf
yeah,
stuff.
The other, I agree with everything you guys said. That I want to show that the other, my second favorite shot of this was, I don't know if it's really a hallway. It seems like maybe an entranceway, whatever it is, where it's like the door is slowly closing, and that's like where the only source of light is from the shot. And it's slowly going down. That whole sequence is just amazing. Like how it's getting more and more mysterious, and you're losing light and all that stuff.
The door's
just
getting real
fantastic.
low.
And door's getting super low.
And this is where I was like, man, this is the MCU. In that same scene, every time he's killing somebody, they're throwing blood spatter onto the camera and stuff like that. So at one point, it's like there's so much blood all over, and you still clearly see him. But it's just like, man, this is crazy. Like, this is like, it's obviously that's where you can have fun on Disney Plus and stuff. But still, it has that Marvel tag, and yeah, very cool shot.
The black and white helps a lot, I think, there of not having like actual blood and
I think
100%. That's how they got away with it. Yeah.
Yeah, because the ratings, right? It's like it has to be red blood for it to, put your rating up.
Yeah, and that's why they were smart about that. So
yeah. Taylor, or did you already give your?
If you have nothing to add, you don't have to.
I was just curious what you thought of it.
I mean, the whole like werewolf scene, like you highlighted already, Dylan, just the hallway sequence there, and just that claim too, like you're all gonna die, and all the other hunters just getting fucking bopped. Each one of them, like they all had very prominent, distinguishable kind of, I guess, aesthetics. How they looked. Like I just wonder if there was like more origin, like where they're all from in parts of the MCU. Because like the big bearded guy, for me, it could have passed as like someone from like not Midgard, but like Thor's
Asgard.
Yeah, Asgard. Like, so I just thought it was very cool to kind of get these different characters and stuff. And he was definitely one of my favorites because he's just chuckling like, what did he say? Like, I'm not big on the horrible fucking accent. I'm not big on the family stuff or whatever he was saying. So yeah.
57 confirmed kills.
I do like that he was just trying to get that fucking axe though. Like he was just like sauntering off, trying to find it and everything like that.
Sauntering off.
Yeah.
Well, anything? I got like quick notes to show. Anything big to talk about?
Yeah, I do, and it's attached to my name here, the dull blade. It kind of went hand in hand because I was feeling a little bit dull on the movie, like I thought I wasn't going to be. Was there like a rumor that Blade was attached to this or something, or did I just completely?
Long time ago. Well, there
Okay.
was rumors that he was going to have a cameo, which obviously fits with the monster. I think the rumor is that scheduling didn't let that happen.
Okay, so there's a character in here that has a similar aesthetic to Blade, and I'm like, this character, he's just the dull Blade, and because he's not as badass as what Blade is. Similar type of profession where he's a monster hunter, and I don't know. I thought maybe they was gonna like lead forward, and it was gonna be something related to like obviously this isn't Mahershala Ali, so I knew this wasn't Blade, but I was expecting something like that to happen. I don't know. I think I had that rumor just weighing heavily in my mind. And then obviously he just gets absolutely bopped by Ted, and I was like, "Oh, there's that."
That's twice in 2 weeks because we got that like vampire-like character in She-Hulk, right? In the in the meeting and stuff. No, I think if Blade was gonna be this, he was never gonna be in this situation. It's strange because when we watched this, I was very surprised there was no end credit scene. To me, if Blade was in this, that's where he would have been. He would have shown up and be like, "Hey, also, I want to talk to you," or like, "What happened here?" Like, I don't think he ever would have been a part of the meeting of the hunters because I think, as much as I would love that, he would have completely took away from this. Like, all eyes would have been on Ali for the whole thing. I think I think he would have overshadowed everyone. So that's why I think this doesn't have an end credits, because they tried to film it and they're probably like, we can't have him just be a voice again, because that happened with Eternals. And I wish they didn't do it in Eternals. I feel like this would have been better if Elsa was just sitting there and you heard Blade like say something. You look, because it fits more. I know Dane and Blade have a history in the comics, but to me this is a much more better tie. So I wish if they used the voice cameo, it would have been here and not Eternals, because I just feel like it fits better.
Would
And
they
I
have
feel
known when they were making Eternals that they were doing Werewolf by Night? I'm trying to think about the timeline of things.
They did,
would've
yeah.
known?
So that's why I think, honestly, I think that they did the voice there, and they were going to have him appear in this. That was the rumor, but he didn't get to appear. But you know, this had been in the works, because the very first thing was that like Michael Giacchino was working with them on a special. I don't think at that point it was known by Werewolf. It was like rumors of like a horror thing, and then people started to put together like, okay, they're doing Werewolf by Night and stuff. And there was also Moon Knight rumors, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, it could be a thing too where they have another Blade post-credit thing that they specifically want tied to another project come up here, and I think you don't want to do like 3 things where he's just like popping up in post-credits, or you know, the stepping stone of like, okay, first a voice, then you actually see him, then that lines up perfectly to his actual movie. And maybe if they did it here, maybe they have another one planned. I don't know. Now that that's kind of got delayed, and
I was
going to
say
that's coming out.
I don't know if it works anymore, because now I think it's like going to be delayed by a whole year probably. So like whatever the intentions they think they had of like, oh, this is the map to get him there, I think it's going to be a little delayed now, unfortunately. So, but I hope we see Ollie with these characters, because there's just loads of fun. Like again, Midnight Suns, get like these characters, Strange, even Moonlight. Like that's great right there. Yeah, Ghost Rider for sure. Like that team up of these people, it's like, man, this could be so much fun. Throw Scarlet Witch in there. Like, yeah.
I agree.
Anything else? I got a few little notes, but anything else talking point wise?
I will say the agents that just brought the cattle prods, fucking poor decision. That's just very bold.
Standard issue, man. They probably didn't have a say.
I think the only reason they did that for like a fourth wall breaking is they wanted us to think that it was like olden days, so they wouldn't have like but I guess you could still have a gun, I guess, or something.
Olden
but
days. These guys wearing full Kevlar body armor.
Yeah, I know, and that's why we thought they were maybe TVA, but
Hockey
still, they were
helmets.
definitely trying to make us think that it was in a different time for a little bit, and then near the end, they're like, no, it's just we just wanted to have a Halloween black and white thing. But the only thing that I wanted to shout out was, one, I love when the stepmother's like talking to the dead husband, listing off all his accomplishments, and she says, says a lover with no equal, and they just shoot to Elsa, and she's like, oh my god, like she's just so disgusted and embarrassed in this moment, just so, and she's like caressing the whatever it is,
Casket.
thank you, coffin, that too. I like the occasional cigarette burns that were being thrown in there. I almost wish they could have made it look like a little more grainy, because sometimes it still looked like really good HD black and white, and then they were throwing the cigarette burns. I wish they could have like just a little bit more, made a little more oldie time, but I was fine. And I got a shout out, of course, but I got to shout out the score. I really, really like this because it did ache back to like 40 monster movies. But for me, what it sounded like sometimes was original Planet of the Apes, where stuff would be happening, it would just be like, like it'd be like loud noises, and you're like, what instrument is this? What did they use to do this? And then they just move on. But people know that Planet of the Apes, the da-da-da-da-da, like they would just use stuff like that, whether they'd show man thing or try to be like a scare, but it wasn't like jump scare. We're gonna lose like use a loud sound. It's many times in those monsters movies where they'll like Wolfman will like look, and you'll get that very jarring music. I loved that, and obviously I wasn't expecting anything less. But
did Giacchino do the soundtrack for
Yep.
this as well? Okay.
he had his hands
That's cool.
has all his wolf mitts all over this. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. So
Nice.
anything else, or should we give our last thoughts here, stuff like that? So I'll go first just because I'm going there. I'm reserving pulling the Kirklin to maybe push this higher later on, because I gotta watch this, the Multiverse Madness. It's very close to some movies, but I think I'm gonna give it a 9.5 right now, because some points they have been a 9 and some have been a 10. So that's why I'm going in the middle, because I think the only thing is that we're taking from my first watch, where it was very fun, but I thought there's with the actual story, I really, really liked it, but still thought the storyline was played a little safe, because I feel like other than the man thing part, everything was very XYZ. Like it followed the very like progression. I guess also for you guys, you had the benefit of, until Kirkland paused, of not knowing Jack Russell was that. So for me, that first half, the intrigue of who is it, there's no intrigue there for me. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, I wish there was, the attack happens, he kills everyone, he saves people, and I was like, okay, what's kind of next? And then it just ends, which is fine. Still really like it. So I would have liked maybe just a little bit more. I think even S-Bub said in our Discord, like, yeah, just a little bit more. Maybe that's it. I'm just wanting more. But I could see myself, because like I said, I've already been on this journey of it climbing up. And I just feel like definitely gonna watch it Halloween, but I feel like it's just one of those I want to put on, and it hits a lot of my vibes. So yeah, high bar in MCU for me. So Kirkland, where are you at with this?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be safely conservative with this, because I have a history of sometimes when I didn't love something on the first go around, come back and absolutely fall in love with it. That was definitely the case for Guardians, and I think I'm gonna give it like a 7.5 right now. I feel like that's pretty fair. It's it's pretty good. Not in that great category though.
C+,
yet. Yeah, exactly. It was definitely solid, and just keep getting weird, MCU. Keep doing very interesting stuff like this, and put it on Disney Plus, because this was just a fun like special to get. It's 54 minutes, I think the runtime was. Very, that's a great runtime to just have like a short little tale like this. That's just, you don't need like a lead up to. You can just jump right into the story, and it was lots of fun to have it black and white. And just minimizing like the color, like having just the color emphasis on the bloodstone, making it like that much more emphasized. And then once our tale was done, we got back to the land of the color. That was a good transition. I forgot to shout that out earlier, but so yeah, there was a lot of stuff in here that I did like, but I just for right now a little bit flatter than I was expecting.
Domas, you got your last thoughts here? Obviously in December,
Yeah,
I'm gonna rank them, but
I think this is like gonna be a yearly watch for me. Halloween time, I think I'll be watching this. But man, between this and She-Hulk episode 8, what a damn good week for the MCU.
Yeah.
Very, very strong week. I really want them to do more of this. I am very excited to see where these characters end up in the future of the MCU, because this really does feel like something very different. But immediately I want to see them interact with some of these other characters, some that we haven't seen yet, some that we have. So yeah, shout-outs to the MCU for doing something fresh and new and different. There you go.
Tayfield, left you for last. I feel like I did it for a reason, but what are you rating this?
I'm giving this a fat, not sloppy, precise, accurate 10 out of 10. It's
Sometimes sloppy's good.
it was incredible. I loved it so very, very, very much. I can't wait to watch it again and again and again. Everything they did in this was just, I love that this is in the MCU. That's like multiple points added to this for me right there. And again, just the nostalgia and just the way it was filmed. There's so much going on. I would love if we got this to be like a feature film length, but then I think, God, I worry that maybe that might have taken away from it, because I feel like what we got was a perfect
You
start,
might need
middle,
those
and end.
jokes and stuff.
Exactly. I feel like what we got was a good start, middle, end in the time frame that we were given. So it's just a perfect special presentation. You mentioned it, Kirkland. I totally forgot about that when they come back to like the color realm. I'm like a big fan of Wizard of Oz, like that, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, like Mary Poppins. Those are 3 films that were like, and Sound of Music. Sorry, 4 films that were just kind of like always on loop when I was little, just growing up. And so, getting to just have that Wizard of Oz, like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, kick in there, and just the transition into the color, I was just eating that up. It was such a pleasant surprise, and yeah, I'm totally sold on this. They like Michael. Call me up. I'm happy to support
you
First name
up.
basis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there you go. We have done another MCU thing in the books. If you listen the first time, we got the She-Hulk finale. Next week, we got Black Panther Wakanda Forever coming up in, just
my
over a
tickets
month
yesterday.
right now. Yeah, I hope we all got our tickets. Everyone got their tickets?
Yeah, I got my
I forgot.
I purchased mine.
Yeah.
I forgot, and yeah, seats are going quick, but I got it now.
Here, I'll give this quick question to S Bubs. Patreon will do, support us, guy in the chair, thing like that. If this does big numbers on Disney Plus, do you think they consider releasing these specials in theaters for a limited run or something like that? They've dabbled with it, I think, in Stars, but I think we've not gotten that with Marvel yet. Because remember, they did that with Obi-Wan and the finale. They did that with the first 2 episodes of Mando, and they did that. No, they didn't do that with Andor. I guess they re-released Rogue One, but Marvel hasn't really done it. I'm gonna say no, but until they do it, change. But I would like it. I would have fucking loved to seen this in a movie theater. It would have been so fun. So I would like it to happen. Do I think it happens? Maybe not for the next 3 years. I'll say.
I think it'd have to be very specific situations. Like I could see if they did like before Guardians 3, a Guardians like marathon, they
Yeah.
throw the special in there. And then for this, I don't know. Like I hope this becomes like a yearly thing. I would love if we got like a Halloween special every year.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be cool if we built up 2 or 3 of them and they did like a special screening where you can watch all 3 of them back to back. Just kind of
Fright
like
Night.
Oh yeah.
yeah, exactly. Just like that would be so much fun to have that within the MCU. Hell yeah, that would be amazing. So I think I could see something like that. But otherwise, I think for this particular one, I don't know if I see it happening. Maybe some of the other more traditional shows, like you mentioned that Star Wars did that for Obi-Wan, like a Loki season 2. Maybe they do something like that.
the big
I don't know
ones,
about this
yeah.
special though. It seems like a bit of an oddball to do that. I think I'm glad that Disney Plus exists because that
Yes.
is a great place to put something like this.
No thoughts, gentlemen. No.
I don't think it's gonna go to theaters.
But just any
think so.
I don't think even not even just this one, just anything down the line too, like in the future and stuff like that.
I don't
definitely
think
possible.
it's a Feige way.
Okay.
You don't
Foggy way. And
I never
Kirkland
say
possible.
never. I think
Yes.
it's possible, but I don't know. I
Johnny
think there has to
Fox.
be a little bit more humming and hawing leading up to it. This was just some roaring and howling,
Roaring and touring.
which maybe is good, yeah, as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning into this. We'll be back at some point in the future, and it won't be boring.
Bye.
Namare.